Hi there, everybody. It's Ellen Weatherford.
And Christian Weatherford.
And this is Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast, where we rate your favorite animals out of 10 in the categories of effectiveness, ingenuity, and aesthetics.
We are not zoological experts, but we try our best to bring the most accurate and interesting information that we can.
Do you notice anything different about me? To the listener, not you specifically.
It's like, this is a trap.
This is kind of like the equivalent of getting a new haircut for podcasters. We're recording on brand new microphones.
Yes.
Much fancier, much nicer than the old ones that we have been using for 6 years. So hopefully they sound nice.
And new cables.
Well, that was a different issue.
One new cable.
If anyone is bummed out that this episode did not come out in line with our usual release schedule, it's not actually related to the new microphone thing. But when hooking up the new microphones, the first time we were like about to sit down and record this episode, when I started recording, I noticed a buzzing sound that sounded like bees trapped in my microphone. And I was like, well, that can't be good. And after moving some things around, we deduced that it was the cable, which needed to be replaced and was surprisingly difficult to find. So now with new and improved shark chomp proof cables, because of the sharks that chomp through the fiber optic cables in the ocean.
I see.
A shark will never be able to chomp through our cables.
Take that.
For other reasons than the sort of logistical impracticality of a shark chomping through our cables. I could blame all of the technical difficulties on sharks. Sorry, guys. Episode's late this week because of sharks.
Again.
We're also switching up our structure a little bit. If you have listened to a lot of episodes, you may know that usually Christian and I will each bring a segment. And sometimes if one of us has like a particularly long and chunky segment, we will do the whole episode will be one segment. But we're just going to do the one segment episodes now. So other than maybe if there's ever a time where you particularly feel like, being the sort of researcher and information bringer, I'm going to do full episode segments from now on, which I think is going to give me a chance to do much sort of deeper dives into the animals that I talk about. A lot of times when I'm doing notes, there are things I have to leave out or like not even... There are things I have to be like, you know what, I'm interested in this, but if I go any deeper into this, I'm going to be well over like single segment time. So I end up backing off a bit from things that I would otherwise find interesting. So if I'm doing full episode segments from now on, that will give me a lot more time to really like dig in to some of those little details and stuff. So I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Christian just has a lot on his plate with work and such. So starting with this week, an animal I'm very excited to give center stage. Do you know what animal I'm talking about this week? If you were screen looking like a cheater.
I don't recall, no.
Were you ever a screen looker when you were playing like Halo with your buds?
I mean, you kind of have to.
Cheater. He was cheating. He was looking at all of your locations.
Not any more or less than the others.
That's true. Oh, yeah, I guess if everyone's cheating, then nobody's cheating.
Right.
I remember many heated arguments as a kid over, you're looking at my screen. Stop looking.
You'll find some funny DIY solutions to that.
Oh, yeah.
Online.
Has everyone just kind of has like horse blinders on?
One I saw involves, like a top-bottom split screen type deal. They had like a piece of cardboard taped to the screen at the separation, and then like the person on the bottom screen was under the cardboard with like a blanket over their head.
That's the only way to be sure.
Yeah.
This week I will be talking about the giant anteater.
All right.
This is the second type of anteater we've talked about on the show. The first type was the southern tamandua, which we talked about 100 million thousand years ago. It was like one of the very first ones. So we haven't revisited the anteater family in quite some time. I'm excited to talk about them.
Yeah.
The scientific name is Myrmecophaga tridactyla.
Okay. There's some familiar sounds in there.
You could probably break some of this down, actually. We've talked about a lot of scientific names on this show, and this one actually like has some base pieces that I bet you could figure out what they mean. So the first one is myrmecophagia. Do you recognize any of these parts? Phagia. Yeah,
Yes.
usually means eating something.
Right.
So like first time I ever heard that was in like a bacteriophage, which would be something that eats bacteria. But this is myrmecophage, and myrmeco is also a prefix that usually means ant. Like something to do with ants.
Okay.
So eating ants. And then tridactyla.
This talks about toes.
Yeah.
There being 3 of them.
3 of them. Dactyl as in like pterodactyl,
Yes.
which means like wing finger. Yeah. It's interesting. Like we've done so many scientific names now that I feel like they're starting to become comprehensible.
A little bit.
I feel like I'm learning Greek. I'm like learning ancient Greek just through like doing this show. The species was submitted by quite a few people. Savannah Whitley, Rianne Waller, Rai Adeyinka, and Kahlo. So
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you all for requesting this animal. I was really excited to get to talk to it. Some people were requesting just like anteaters in general, or like doesn't matter which one. And then this one seemed like the one that I was the most interested in talking about. I'm getting my information from Smithsonian's National Zoo and San Diego Zoo, as well as other sources that I'll cite as they come up. So as the name giant anteater might suggest, these things are quite large. You've seen a giant anteater in person, haven't you?
Pretty sure at zoos.
At the Jacksonville Zoo, there was one that would walk sort of a big path. They had it near like the jaguar exhibit.
Was it
stuff.
in the same exhibit as the tapir or just next to it?
It was next to the tapir and the capybaras.
Okay.
I think the anteater did actually share a pen with squirrel monkeys.
Oh, maybe.
You remember that one time?
Yeah.
We were watching the anteater walk around, and there's all these little cute little squirrel monkeys in this exhibit, and we're sitting there watching, and all these little kids had gathered around because the squirrel monkeys are being so cute. They're like sitting on this little vine in their habitat, and they're right up against the glass, and they're just being adorable, and all these kids are like, oh, it's so cute. There was probably like a dozen children gathered around the glass watching these squirrel monkeys. And a bird, just like a wild like finch, like from outside, had gotten in. It was like a chain link enclosure. And a wild finch had like flown in. It was flying past, and this monkey, like without looking, like a Naruto character, just grabs this bird straight out of the air and shoves it in its mouth and starts eating it.
Yeah.
And all the kids are like, ah!
Yeah.
I shouldn't be laughing, but I found it kind of funny. But yeah, the anteaters were in that same pen. The giant anteater can be up to 8 feet long, or 2.5 meters.
Is that tip of snout to tip of tail?
It is tip of snout to tip of tail,
Okay.
which does impact the total sort of size of the creature, because a quarter of that length is nose, and their tail is enormous too.
Right.
So there's really not that much creature to it.
There's an interesting balance situation going on there.
I think so. I'll talk about that a little bit when I talk about the tail in a little while. But I do think that the tail has to do with it. Like, I think the tail, like, physically has to be that large. They're found in the forests and grasslands of Central and South America. And they're in the taxonomic family Myrmecophagidae, including their closest cousins, the tamanduas. They're all more distantly related to sloths. They're all in the order Pilosa, which involves anteaters and sloths. So you can kind of see some similarities, especially in like the hands and the claws and stuff. If you were to zoom out a little bit more, you'd be in, I don't know what taxonomic rank it is, but you'd be in the group called Xenarthra, which also includes armadillos.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah. I would think that anteaters and armadillos would be more closely related to each other, but sloths are their closest cousins.
I can see it.
So if this is anyone's first time listening to this podcast, we rate animals out of 10. And the first category is effectiveness, which are physical adaptations, things built into the animal's body that let it do a good job of the things it's trying to do. And I'm giving the giant anteater a 9 out of 10.
That's very good.
I think that they have come up with some interesting solutions to interesting problems. Sort of the most, I think, bizarre, the most sort of unusual thing about the giant anteater is their tongue. The tongue is up to 2 feet long, and it just kind of zoops all the way up in like into that nose. So like that long nose is all just like tongue sheath.
Sure.
Basically, it's just like casing for the like giant tongue. But they can stick it out like way further than you'd think they would. It reminds me a little bit of like a woodpecker.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're like wrapped around their skull case the same way that woodpeckers
It's
are.
got to go somewhere, right?
That's true. Where's it going? They're able to just kind of zoop it back up really, really far. To put into perspective a little bit, with their tongue being a quarter of the length of their entire body, that would be like if my tongue was 16.7 inches long.
Okay.
You better watch out. You're more than 16.7 inches away from me right now, but I bet I could get your foot.
See, I planned for this.
By sitting on the other side of the room from me. We sit far away from each other so that our voices don't bleed into each other's microphones, but not far enough. For me, if I was an anteater. Bring back the most extreme guy. The green CGI guy from the most extreme. But then I guess my whole like mouth would have to also be 16.7 inches long.
I wonder why that is. Why not just have same amount of tongue, but mouth and nose that doesn't go out that far?
Because then I think it would have to be like a bubble tape, that like bubble gum that's like a tape measure.
Sure.
It's all coiled up in there. It would be like that sort of situation. And like, where are you putting it? What are you wrapping it around? Like I feel like there's not enough wiggle room in there. Like a fruit by the foot. Because it also has to be like powered by muscle, right? It can't.
That's true.
It has to be like connected to muscles and like it has to be supported enough that they can, because it's very dexterous.
Right.
Like it can worm its way through ant tunnels and, it's very prehensile. So it has to be like supported by muscle. It can't just be like a loose flap of wet flesh.
I'm imagining one of those, I think they're called auger tools, to clear out clogged pipes and things.
Oh, you ever seen those videos of people who like, they'll have like an upstairs apartment and then someone downstairs will be like snaking their drain and like they'll just be in their bathroom and this giant drain snake is just like
coming out of the toilet. Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
Oh, no.
If you're an ant, that is the exact experience you're having. The tongue can also flick out of their mouth and back in up to 150 times per minute, which is over 2 tongue flicks per second, which I think would make them the Tootsie Pop speedrun world champion.
Ah, yes.
They could be reaching the center of a Tootsie Pop in like seconds.
They wouldn't even ask.
No, they'd be like, I'm already done, actually. So the reason that their tongue is so long is that they put their nose right up to the entrance of ant tunnels, and then they shoot their tongue in, and the tongue is coated in a really, really sticky mucus that the ants get stuck to, and then the anteater pulls the whole tongue with the ants stuck to it back into its mouth, like a deeply cursed fun dip. If you've ever had fun dip, imagine that you've got to kind of lick it to get it wet first, and then you just coat it.
I bet that would work on ants too, actually.
Fun dip?
Yeah, like the stick, like the sugar stick that comes with it. I bet that would get some ants on there.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, if you had fun dip, you wouldn't even have to like be wiggling it around and stuff. You could just kind of set it down and walk away for a while and then come back.
Yeah, has the anteater tried just kind of coating its tongue in sugar?
Work smarter, not harder. It seems like something monkeys could figure out, probably.
Maybe.
Because I know monkeys will like get a stick and like use sticks to like fish things out of nooks and crevices and stuff.
So what keeps the ants from biting the tongue, though?
Nothing.
Ah.
And they do it.
Okay.
I will kind of touch back on that a little bit in ingenuity, but the ants do in fact bite. The anteater. So one thing we have mentioned a few times on this podcast is that, this sort of common mantra of people who like work with animals is when people ask, well, can it bite you? What do you say?
Oh, well, I heard this from a pet store employee.
Yeah.
That if it has a mouth, it can bite you.
Not the case for the giant anteater. You know why?
It's too small.
Ain't got no tooths.
None? Like,
no teeth.
Not even all the way back in there?
No teeth.
Huh.
0. none teeth.
Okay.
They have no teeth inside of their mouth. That whole snout there's no teeth in there. But they can crush up ants by sort of like, as the tongue is pulling the ants back in, they kind of grind them against the roof of the mouth or against the cheeks, which has these sort of like ridges on the inside.
Huh.
And their stomach is very muscular, kind of like a bird's. So the stomach can do a lot of like the grinding and pulverizing after they've already eaten the ant. But I mean, if you think about it, you don't really need to chew to eat ants. They're so small.
They do have the exoskeleton, though.
They do, but like they're so crushable.
Yeah.
They're so easily crushable. So yeah, no teeth on this guy. So they could not bite you even if they wanted. And also, if you've never like looked closely at an anteater's face, the mouth is just the very end of the snout. The snout is so long, and the mouth is just this teeny tiny little smile right at the very end of it.
Right.
So I don't even know if they could even like open their mouth wide up enough to bite you.
See, I think is that really only the skin and muscle part of what we would call a mouth? And is the jaw still back by the skull? Is that how
No,
it works?
I think the jaws are still that's all like
the whole,
jaws. That
really?
whole snout is jaws.
I think I need to see a
let's
skeleton.
Let's pull up a picture of giant anteater skull. It's so much sillier looking than I thought it was going to be, actually. Here you go.
Wow. Okay. Wait, can I see closer?
This reminds me of those memes where it's like, if paleo artists were reconstructing this animal just based purely off of its skeleton, like how would they reconstruct it? And it would be like hippos become like spiky and very brutal looking.
You know why I thought it wasn't like a skull all the way through? Because for some reason I was imagining the nose as being a little bit bendy too. But
like an elephant
kind of
snout,
but
sort of.
Not that bendy.
Right. Yeah, because if you look at like an elephant skull, there's no structure to that trunk at all. This is not. They do
different.
not have a bendy snout. They're not really using their snout in that way. It's all just their mouth.
So they do have a jaw though. Does that jaw open and close at all, I wonder?
I'm sure it does. Okay, here's a picture where one has its mouth open. And you can see, I think the limiting factor here is the opening of the lips.
Yeah.
Like that the hole at the end of the nose is so small that they really can't open it that far. It's like the sleeve.
Right.
The opening of a sleeve.
How interesting.
So no, you are not going to get bitten by one of these. They do not have teeth. Now, as you may have guessed from that extremely long nose, they have a very strong sense of smell. How could you not? With a nose that's 2 feet long. I imagine that their nose enters a room a full minute before they do. Like, one's coming.
They must have the gnarliest of boogers.
Ooh, can you imagine? It would be like a clown with a handkerchief that just keeps going.
They could pick it themselves, though, I bet.
That's true. So maybe they never have boogers because they're just getting a constant deep clean the way giraffes do.
Yeah.
They're getting way up in there.
Maybe that's how it started. And then they're like, wait a minute, I could eat ants with this.
Yeah, it was originally a booger selected trait. If you were having like a stage show with like a curtain and like the anteater had to like come on stage from behind the curtain, there would just be like a lengthy sort of prelude while the nose spends a significant amount of time entering the frame. They got the nose the long way. Yeah. Okay, so we mentioned earlier that big bushy tail. I mean, it's huge. Their tail is enormous, and it's very, very bushy. So it's got a lot of big, like, thick black hair on the end of it. And they often kind of hold it level with their body, like it's sort of like parallel with the ground. And I actually didn't see this suggested anywhere. I couldn't really like back this up, but it's my own personal guess. Like you said a second ago, I think it's a counterbalance. I think it's like because if they didn't have a giant sort of like structure on the back of their body, they'd be so front heavy that I think they just tip forward. Yeah. And I didn't see any confirmation of that. That's just my own personal thought. I think it's just like they have to have this big tail to keep them from flipping over.
You know what's strange? When I do see a giant anteater, that's where my vision goes first, is their tail.
The tail?
Yeah.
It is cool. I mean, it looks pretty neat. Yeah. It's a striking feature. It is very large.
I guess at a quick glance, it would, and you're not familiar with it, you might have a hard time telling what end is which there.
Yeah, a little bit. And there's actually something interesting to that I'll talk about in the aesthetics section. Cool. So as I mentioned, you cannot get bitten by one of these, but that does not mean that they can't hurt you. Like that does not mean that you can just run right up on them and like give them a big old hug, because they very much can. They have a sort of a secret weapon that they keep tucked away and hidden, and it is their sharp hooked claws.
Right.
They have like velociraptor looking. We just watched Jurassic Park. They have like the like big old claw that the dude's carrying around the whole time. That's what their claws look like. They're sickle like. They are really sharp. They're really long.
Yes.
Very, very impressive claws on these anteaters. They can be up to 4 inches long, which if you were to look at your hand would be a little bit longer than like, I don't know, an average middle finger perhaps. You know, maybe from like the tip of your middle finger to maybe the middle of your palm would be about 4 inches, I guess. So yeah, very, very long claws. And most of the time, I mentioned that they keep them hidden. They keep them sort of folded up into fists. And when they walk around on the ground, they're walking on their knuckles.
Like Tarzan.
Like Tarzan, yeah. Well, Tarzan does it because he's raised by gorillas.
Yes.
And gorillas walk around on their knuckles, as do like some other great apes. Like I think chimpanzees will sometimes do this. So for apes, it's for a different reason. Apes tend to walk around on their knuckles because, first of all, they have very long fingers, and it would make them really clumsy if they were trying to walk around with their fingers out. You know what I mean? It would give them kind of like duck feet almost, like clown feet. It would be a little bit awkward for them to walk around with their fingers spread out because they have long fingers. But also sometimes it lets them hold things while they're walking because they have more sort of dexterous hands, so they can hold on to something while walking. They don't have to put it down because they can walk on their knuckles. But in anteaters and also in some other animals that have like long claws like this, like pangolins sometimes will walk on their knuckles, it is so that they don't dull their claws by walking on them. So a little bit for like they'd be really clumsy and it would probably slow them down if they were trying to walk on these claws. But also the claws are kind of their livelihood. So they fold them up so that they're not getting like ground down and dulled by walking on them.
So why are they their livelihood?
Because the claws are how they dig into things like termite mounds. So if you've ever seen documentaries about termite mounds in like South America, they do this in Africa too, but the giant anteater lives in South America. So termites will build these like towering structures out of really, really hard clay, which they make. The termites make it. They take soil and they mix it up with like their saliva or some other sort of like bodily secretions, whatever it is. And then they pack it onto the tower. And then when it dries, it is like concrete hard. Like it is basically like they've made this sort of like giant like building out of concrete. So what anteaters can do is they use their claws and just sort of brute force their way into the termite mound, where they can like, because they're sharp, they can sort of like wedge their claw in, and they're so strong that they just pry it apart. So they're using a combination of like the sharpness of their claws, and they're just, these things are jacked. Like, they're very, very strong. And they just pull these termite mounds apart. Or they can break open things like logs or anywhere where ants or termites that they eat would be hiding. So they're using these claws to sort of tear apart structures that might be hiding their prey, but they also will not hesitate to use them in self-defense. Anteaters don't tend to fight each other. Like they're solitary. They don't like to hang out together. But when they run into each other, they don't usually fight. Like they don't tend to be very territorial or very aggressive towards each other. If they come across another one, they'll just run away. But I saw videos of jaguars on multiple occasions. A jaguar will like see an anteater. He'll get a little feisty. He'll say, delicious, num, num, num. Let me go grab this anteater. Jaguar comes up on this anteater. Anteater turns around, and they kind of like, they'll rear back a little bit. They won't do the Tamandua T-pose. Tamanduas do the T-pose.
Right.
I don't think they have like the lateral sort of flexibility to do their arms to the side like that. Tamanduas do the T-pose. That's hilarious. I love that. But giant anteaters they'll rear back and kind of like swing their claws around, and then they'll just kind of flail a little bit, like ragdoll their sort of like arms around and, you know, get their claws out and everything. And I saw more than one video on YouTube of a jaguar squaring up. Giant anteater starts throwing hands. And the jaguar is like, oh, sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game. And they walk away.
Yeah.
The jaguars are like, no thanks.
Yeah, there's better things to eat probably.
I mean, jaguars are like the pit bulls of like big cats. Like they will square up with anything. Like jaguars regularly eat like caimans and like crocodiles and stuff like that. But they see a giant anteater and they're like, you know what? I'm good, actually. Hilarious to me. I also saw a video of a giant just to kind of like highlight their strength, because you don't see one of these and think like physical muscle strength. I saw one video of a giant anteater climbing up a tree upside down.
Whoa.
Where like the tree kind of branched in a way that was like parallel with the ground, and the giant anteater reaches up, grabs the trunk, and pulls its entire body up on the bottom of the tree trunk. And it's like effortless, like just hoists the weight of its entire body up into the air, like without even breaking a sweat.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think these things are like secret jacked. It's a sleeper build for sure. So they're incredibly like very, very strong. I just like the fact that like they're so largely passive, you know, like they're not aggressive. They're not super territorial, but like if you do like step to one, they're like, all right, here's my 8 knives.
Right.
I guess 6 because of the name triangle.
Yeah, that's true.
Like while you were eating plants, I was studying the blades.
Do they have the big claws on the back of their feet too, or just the front?
No, just the front.
Okay, makes sense.
You can see these videos are really, really funny of these jaguars. Like they'll see an anteater and you can see them kind of inch closer, and then you watch them do the mental math where they're like calculating the probability that they're about to get their teeth knocked in. And they're like, you can see them just kind of be like, never mind, he's got hands.
They probably don't taste that great either.
I mean, they're probably not very fatty, you know. Probably not super nutrient rich, but there are much easier things. There are things you can eat without also getting mauled.
And I guess they're not doing the dart tree frog? No.
Like a poison dart frog?
There we go. They're not doing the poison dart frog thing and making the ant venom part of themselves.
Oh, that would be cool. Let's submit that as a patch, as like a, what do they do? Like requests to the developers.
Yeah.
Here's an update suggestion. Let anteater, because there's other animals that do like eat toxic things and then process the toxicity for their own body and like turn it into their own self-defense. So that'd be a good feature to update. Maybe in the next patch they'll get that one in.
Yeah, maybe.
I did give them a 9 instead of a 10, mostly because they have pretty poor eyesight and hearing. Oh. Their eyes and their ears are so little, very, very teeny tiny. And the things that they are eating are so small, right, that like vision wouldn't super help them anyway. The prey that they are chasing is both very, very small, so it would be hard to see anyway, and they're largely underground. So why does it matter if you could see them? They're going to be under the ground. You're not going to be able to see them anyway, you know? So it makes sense that they wouldn't really prioritize having good eyesight, but they do have a good sense of smell, just not great eyesight and hearing. And, you know, while yes, that doesn't help them with their prey, it does very much work against them in a way that I will explain more later. Let's take a quick break to hear from our friends on the Maximum Fun Network. When I get back, we'll talk ingenuity and aesthetics for giant anteaters.
Do you want to travel this summer but don't have the time?
Want to learn all about state mottos and history without summer school?
Or maybe you just love urban legends and Latin?
Well, my friends, there's one podcast that ties it all together and celebrates the American states many call home, E Pluribus Motto.
Every episode, we showcase a different state or commonwealth or district or territory and celebrate its official motto and the absurdity of all its local life.
We'll go across the country with stops at Oregon, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and so many more. Join us, won't you, to take in the sights and sounds.
New episodes of E Pluribus Motto every other week on Maximum Fun.
What's more action-packed than prestige television?
With more continuity than comic books?
And more reality than reality television?
It's professional wrestling! And to better understand wrestling is the ultimate form of entertainment. You need the Tights and Fights podcast.
This is the perfect wrestling show with a lot of love, a lack of toxic masculinity,
and just the right amount of butts, cats, and spandex.
Listen to Tights and Fights every Saturday on Maximum Fun.
So for ingenuity, if this is anyone's first time listening, these are behaviors, things that the animal is doing with their body to solve problems that they face or navigate and thrive in their environment. I'm giving giant anteaters a 7 out of 10.
All right, respectable.
It's respectable. It's okay. It's all right. It's a passing grade. One of the things that I found interesting is that they follow the advice of Kenny Rogers in that they know when to fold them. Once they find an ant or a termite mound, they find a good source of food. They will usually only feed on it for like a minute or two. They won't like dwell on it. They won't like really fill up on one ant mound. They'll kind of only feed on it for like a minute or two before moving on to the next one. And this is for 2 reasons. One of them is because they don't want to completely exterminate the colony. They don't want to wipe the colony out because they know if they leave some ants left, they will, recover their population, and then the anteater can come back later for another meal. So it's a sustainability feature, I guess. Yes. Infinite food glitch. I guess that's just what planting things is. Like, maybe that's how we can market sustainability efforts and eco-conscious products. Be like, this infinite resource glitch.
It is applicable to avoiding overfishing, for example.
Yeah. I definitely wish, more people took cues from things like, giant anteaters. But a lot of animals will do this. A lot of animals understand. I don't want to obliterate the population of my prey because this would negatively impact me. But also, another reason, which you touched on earlier, the ants do start biting back. So they are sort of being forced to move along because while they're eating, the ants are trying to fight back. After a minute or so, the ants have really mobilized. It's like anyone who has ever been standing around outside and then you feel a little tingle on your foot and you look down and just your stomach starts to sink as you realize that the whole time you've been standing there in an anthill. Have you ever had that happen to you?
Yeah.
That's nightmarish. That happened to me many times as a kid.
Yeah.
So, it takes ants a little bit, but once they figure out that there's something attacking the colony or there's something, here that's not supposed to be, they will mobilize against you and they will swarm you and they will bite back. So that does start to happen. The ants start to fight back against the anteaters, which kind of reminds me also of when you're eating pineapple and the acid from the pineapple, the enzymes. That people say that the pineapple is eating you back,
right? Yeah,
it's the enzymes in the pineapple juice is breaking you down and making you sort of mouth sting and hurt and stuff.
This you just gotta eat through the pain. Actually, is my advice.
Well, you also like spicy stuff, so I think that's
different.
Is it?
It is.
How?
I think
hurt mouth.
Well, the spicy hurt is mostly chemical, I don't know, taste, right? It's not causing a mechanical change.
Well, it is causing a physical reaction, right?
Yeah.
It's like a mild poison.
It's a pain versus damage thing.
Oh, okay.
Because you can suffer a lot of pain but very little damage, and vice versa. Right?
That's true. Because if you eat something really, really spicy, your mouth is going to hurt for a few minutes. But once the active pain fades away, you're going to be fine. It's going to be like nothing happened. But if you eat way too much pineapple,
right,
your mouth is going to be you're going to have sores.
Yeah,
it'll be there will be actual wounds to the inside of your mouth because it's dissolving your skin and stuff. I guess I see what you mean. One is actually doing lasting damage. And so, yeah, I really had to give the anteater ingenuity credit for this because I have not even mastered this ability. I can't even you ever go to a restaurant and you get a sandwich and the sandwich is a big sandwich, but it's cut in half. So you're oh, I'll just save the other half of the sandwich for later. I'll bring it home and eat it for a different meal. And then you bring it home. And mine's not making it to the fridge. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Because it's not going to reheat, right?
It's not. The lettuce is going to get soggy. And then you can't just reheat the meat part of it without also reheating the lettuce and stuff. So
you can. It's just more work than we're talking about when microwaving things.
I'm just going to eat the whole thing. I don't care. So yeah, I have to give the anteater credit for something I cannot do myself. Another thing that I wanted to give them some props for, and this, I just love this and I wanted to talk about it. Mother anteaters carry their babies on their backs.
Aww.
Which is already great. And I've seen some videos, and people might think this is what I'm going to talk about, but I'm not. I've seen some videos of tamanduas, which are a smaller type of anteater, where, so like the mother will carry the baby on her back. Sometimes, I guess, I don't know if this is something that only happens in captivity. I've only seen videos of this happening with like captive tamanduas, but the mother tamandua will also ride on the back of the father tamandua.
Okay.
And sometimes she will also have the baby on her back. So you get like 3 tamanduas stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I love that.
Maybe that was the inspiration for We Bare Bears.
Oh, yeah.
That stack that they do.
It's a Gundam. Tamandua Gundam. They do that, and then they do the T-pose, and then they turn into
they'll
like...
fall down. Oh, no.
Okay. That would be great, too. Like, they forget that they've got, like, a couple extra passengers back there and just topple backwards. I was thinking they, like, stack on top of each other and then T-pose, and, like, it does, like, a magical anime transformation sequence into, like, a giant robot or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah. They Voltron together. But so I don't think that giant anteaters do this. I don't think the males have as much participation in raising the young ones as the tamanduas do. But what I did want to talk about is that mother anteaters, so when the baby is on the mother's back, when you look at a giant anteater, you'll notice that they have this black stripe that runs from their chest to sort of the back of their shoulders. And the babies have the exact same stripe. The babies look like exactly like the adults, just kind of like scaled down a little bit. But important,
Bethesda child.
Yeah, the Bethesda child, the unkillable child. So what's really interesting is that when the mother is carrying the baby anteater, and I don't know if this is intentional, if this was like something that was like done on purpose or anything like this, but the baby anteater is on the mother's back in such a position where the baby's chest stripe lines up perfectly with the mother's chest stripe, and like with the sort of end of the stripe, so that it just kind of extends her chest stripe out, and it makes it look like one giant anteater. Instead of being like one anteater carrying a smaller one, it looks like one giant one, because the baby kind of like looks like a just sort of an extension of the mother's back. So it makes both of them together look like one giant animal.
I see.
So like it could be helping make her look a little more intimidating. Like the effect is really, really cool, actually. Like it's so neat how like the baby has a marking that just happens to flow perfectly into the mother's. It's really cool. So that kind of neatly brings us into the aesthetics category, which is just how nice an animal is to look at. I'm giving them a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
They're so cute. Even though they look like a panoramic shot gone wrong. They look like they walked they walked through someone taking a panoramic shot. You've seen like dogs that'll do this, like when a dog runs through a panoramic shot and they get all stretched out. They kind of look like that. I like how their snout is so long, but the mouth is just teeny tiny at the very, very end of it. That's adorable. It would take on a very, very different aesthetic, I think, if that whole thing was mouth. You know what I mean? Like if the lips extended all the way back.
Yeah.
I don't think I would feel as positively about
Right.
I feel like that might make them look more like a creepy pasta thing or something.
I'm still so surprised that they don't have any teeth.
I know, that's very interesting, isn't it? And their relatives, the sloths, do have teeth. There's some interesting like dentition stuff out there about. I was doing notes for this, and I ended up getting way too into like sloth teeth. And then I was like, why am I doing this? The animal I'm talking about doesn't have any teeth at all. Why am I doing this? It was just some interesting things about how like the 3-toed sloth has weirdly sharp, like massive incisor. No, they're not even like canine teeth, but they like functionally look and act like canine teeth.
Right.
But they're herbivores. It's really weird. Anyway. You mentioned earlier that sometimes when you look at a giant anteater, it can be difficult to tell which end is the head.
Right.
Because the head looks so unusual to be an animal's head that you don't right away register that as being the head. And for a second, you're like, where do I look?
Right. Yeah.
So they have on their forearms, they have this sort of coloration that's like white with these big black spots. And I had never made this observation myself, and I've seen these things before. And it wasn't until I was doing notes for this that I saw people claiming that the coloration on their forearms kind of looks like it could be the head of a different animal. And I'm going to have to show you a video because I think that this effect only makes any sense when you see it in motion. I don't think it gives this effect at all in like just a still image, but you'll see what I'm talking about in this video right here. Look at the forearms.
Oh, it looks like a panda.
That's what I think. It kind of looks like the forearm is the head of a panda.
Huh.
Now, I saw a lot of, because I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I was thinking maybe this is like a camouflage behavior or something like that. The only sources that I saw discussing this effect were I would consider less than reliable. It was like Lad Bible and like,
sure,
you know, not anyone with any sort of like knowledge that I would like trust their analysis of what's going on here. And a lot of these like less than reliable sources claim that it's like intentional, it's like camouflage or maybe intimidation, which I don't think is necessary because as I mentioned earlier, they are plenty capable of defending themselves. Like jaguars and other predators like that already know not to tussle with an anteater, like if they're rolling up on one. So I really don't think it's true. I don't think it's accurate. Like, I don't think that those markings are supposed to make it look like the head of a different animal. And part of that is because I can't think of any animal that lives where they live that looks like that.
That's true.
It looks like a panda, but pandas don't live there.
Yeah.
So what would they be mimicking?
Maybe, I mean,
I just couldn't think of any. Maybe there is one that I just don't know about.
I mean, it's just maybe a coincidence. Like
I think it's coincidence.
Like mimicry that came about because it looks like a head and an eye.
Oh, I think it's purely coincidence on our part. I think we are seeing it and we know what pandas look like.
Yeah.
So we are like perceiving it as the head of a panda.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's an effect that is meant to like invoke any reaction in anything like native to where they live.
I think just it might invoke a reaction of just a general head and cause some confusion about where its head is. But I don't think it
maybe
developed.
Because it's high contrasting.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, here's another thought though, is because we've seen a lot of animals that do have high contrasting markings or colors that are meant to distract the attention of a predator, like away from sort of the more vital parts of the body. So like skinks, right, that might have like a brightly colored tail.
Yeah.
That's so that a predator will attack the tail and then they drop their tail and they escape.
Yeah.
In every other instance I've seen of that, the area that the animal is trying to draw the attention of the predator towards is like non-vital. There are things that like a tail or like hair or something that would easily detach, right? Like on like moths or something, you'll see it on like the tails of their wings. Yeah. Something that could very easily be ripped off and not impact the survival of the animal. But the anteaters, this would be attracting attention towards their forearms. Yeah. Which they very badly need to survive and also are like very, very well equipped to defending themselves without having to distract a predator.
Maybe it's a variation, like not just distracting from more vital areas, but to set up the fabled face to fist style.
Oh, you think it's a sucker punch? Oh, look over here, bam!
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's drawing them to the business end of basically their guns.
I guess that would be drawing the attention away from like their face, which they couldn't
or use. Their back, where the baby would be.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. Like I couldn't find enough evidence to support the description of it being like a sort of intentional isn't the right word,
no, it's
but
not. Yeah.
Like, that's something that's supposed to be mimicry or anything like that. I couldn't find enough evidence to support it.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
And an interesting effect to see. If you like watch a video of it, it looks pretty neat. It does look like the head of like a panda grazing on the ground or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's pure coincidence.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think back to that, what was it, a clam or something that developed an appendage that looked like a fish.
Oh, the freshwater mussel.
Yeah. That one was a good example because it can't see.
Yeah.
So like not only is evolution not the kind of thing where the organism makes a decision,
right? Yeah, you do not.
But this organism
evolution.
couldn't, even if it had the ability to choose, right? 'Cause it can't see. It doesn't know what that thing looks like.
Yeah.
So it was just selected for because it had a mutation at some point that started to look more and more like this thing's food.
Yeah.
Right.
But the appearance of that thing had an impact.
Right.
I don't think the appearance of the anteater's arms has an impact on its environment at all.
Because if it was a panda, so what?
Yeah. I think it's just this human, I think it's human pattern recognition.
Yeah.
I think it's just us being like, doesn't this thing look like a panda?
Yeah.
It's, what is it called? Pareidolia or something? Like the human tendency to recognize faces in patterns that are not meant to be faces.
I think the more plausible thing to toy with was it selected for because it looks like a face or something that distracts from the actual face of the anteater.
I could see that because it's just high contrast,
Yeah.
right? It's black and white.
Yeah.
High contrast markings usually have some sort of purpose.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would imagine maybe for mate selection to
Maybe.
show off the size of their arms.
That's another option, right? It's just it got selected for because the mates find it interesting.
Yeah, maybe it's just hot. I'm wondering maybe if it shows off the size of their forearms, then it could make them look like a more desirable and viable mate.
Requires some testing. I'm going to paint my forearms like pandas and then get back to you.
You could get sleeves that you could wear that just have brightly contrasting black and white markings, and that we need control, so you would need to wear some skin colored
right.
Sleeves on some days, and then on other days you could wear highly contrasting black and white sleeves and see on which days I kiss you more.
Oh, yeah. See, I was thinking more of an elaborate setup to have an excuse for showing up with a giant anteater someday. Oh. You'll never believe what followed me home.
You would receive no resistance here. Oh, last thing for aesthetics that I think is really great, and I think you're going to think is really great too. When they are asleep, when they're sleeping, they curl up.
Yeah.
And they lay their tail over their body like a blankie.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's so cute. They're just all curled up snoozing, and they have their blankie just laid over their whole body. It's so cute.
Could you imagine though? Does it sleep at night, or is
Yes.
or is it nocturnal?
Yeah, they sleep at night.
Can you imagine walking up on one of those in a South American jungle while it's asleep, curled up? I would not know what it is. I would know it's a living thing.
It's like a pile of hair.
It's nah.
Demon. That's a hair demon from Inuyasha. So I thought that was great. So finally, to talk about conservation for giant anteaters, the IUCN recognizes giant anteaters as vulnerable. Also, so that's for their whole range. The whole population is vulnerable, but they're locally extinct throughout a lot of parts of their range. So there are some entire countries where they used to be found and they're not anymore. So they have gone extinct locally in some places. I mentioned earlier that they have very, very poor eyesight and hearing, and they're also quite slow. They can get up to a pretty significant gallop, but that's usually only when they're trying to get away from something. If they're just walking around, they're very slow. And because they have poor eyesight and poor hearing, this makes them very vulnerable to getting hit by cars.
Oh, no.
Because those are ways that we see the same problem with things like armadillos and opossums in North America. Those are animals that have very poor eyesight, very poor hearing, and are very slow and always get hit by cars.
Well, these are also considerably larger. Did you happen to find a weight? What is their average weight?
I didn't, but they're pretty big, so I
feel
imagine
like
they'd be pretty heavy.
A car at speed is not going to be okay hitting one of these.
It's not great for either party. Nobody's having a fun time.
Yeah.
Nobody's having a good day. They also have a hard time fighting back against things like feral dogs, because dogs can hunt as a pack.
True.
So it might be a little bit easier for a pack of dogs to overwhelm an anteater. They're also obviously facing habitat loss and fragmentation, and increased damage from fires. They also have a hard time getting away from fires.
Yeah.
So just sort of the normal habitat problems that a lot of animals, especially in South America, have, plus on top of they're very, very commonly hit by cars. I think a lot of that is because of their size, right? They have so much of them to move across the road, and they're doing it quite slowly. So I did not want to wrap up the episode on a bummer, so I have a hopeful note for the end. One of the areas where giant anteaters had been considered locally extinct was in southern Brazil.
Oh.
But in August of 2023, researchers monitoring camera traps suddenly started seeing giant anteaters again for the first time since 1890.
Wow.
So in this whole state of Brazil, they hadn't seen a single giant anteater in over a century. And in 2023, they saw one, and then they saw, I want to say, like 11 more after that.
Wow.
So they started seeing them like frequently after that. And this is really, really great news, because this is basically an indication that conservation efforts are working for them. This is largely thanks to rewilding efforts. So I was reading a Manga Bay article from February of 2024 that was titled "Rewilding in Argentina Helps Giant Anteaters Return to South Brazil," and that was by Sarah Brown. And this article details the work that's done by this NGO, which is a non-governmental organization, called Rewilding Argentina. And since 2007, this group has been taking young anteaters, mostly who were orphaned by things like vehicle collisions. So like a car hits their mother, and now you've got this baby anteater with no mother around. So they take in these sort of orphaned young wild anteaters, raise them, rehabilitate them, and then re-release them into different parts of their native range where anteaters had gone extinct before. So not necessarily re-releasing them back to the exact same place they were taken in, but putting them in somewhere that they need to repopulate with anteaters. And now they're starting to redisperse on their own, which suggests really, really great success in the program. There's one organization called the Institute for Wildlife Conservation, which the acronym is ICAS. That's because the acronym is based on their Portuguese name. They're a Brazilian organization. So in English, they're called the Institute for Wildlife Conservation. And they have a program that's actually specifically aimed at working with truck drivers and highway workers. So people who work on the roads that go through anteater habitat, to provide things like training and education and like tracking. So where people can like use an app to like report anteater sightings, or like there will be an app that will say like, hey, you're passing through an area where there's a lot of anteaters, like it'll like kind of encourage more safe practices and help reduce the frequency of anteater collisions. And if you're looking for a good account to follow on social media, they post a lot of really, really great pictures and videos of anteaters. A lot of them are taken by camera traps. Now, some of the captions are only in Portuguese. Some of the captions have like English translations in them also, but the pictures are great. And I'm just saying, they follow me back on Instagram. Hey. We're mutuals. So I'll have links to their accounts and everything like that in the episode description, because I think everyone should follow them. I actually started following them on Twitter like years ago, and they followed me back. No big deal. We were mutuals. It's okay. I'm just name dropping.
There you go.
And yeah, the posts that they share, that was the first time I had ever seen the effect of like the baby's stripe lining up with the mother's. I had never heard of that before until I learned that from their Twitter account. May Twitter rest in peace.
Yeah.
Pour one out for the lost homie.
Were you planning on talking about pop culture representation?
Do you have one? I didn't have one prepared.
Big one.
Oh, a big one? Who's that?
The giant mole from Avatar.
The badger moles?
The one that the
shirshu.
Yes.
Oh, I love the shirshu.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so right. I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Because we talked about the other animal that is based off of.
Right. And which one was that?
The 5-star mole, or the
the star-nosed mole.
There it is. 5-star mole.
But yeah, it is very, very giant anteater.
Yes.
Hold on, I have to look that up.
The tail for sure, and probably the arms and the tongue.
Oh, it's less anteater-like than I remember it being.
Really?
Because it's like brown.
But look at its tail.
It does have the anteater tail. I definitely see it.
And it also has a long tongue that it can like whip around, and it also has bad eyesight. And
oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot. Okay, yeah, in this picture I see it.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I forgot all about that. That's such a good pull. Oh yeah, because in the show, it uses its tongue as like a whip, doesn't it?
That like injects venom from a distance. Basically,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I couldn't think of any other specific giant anteater pop culture pulls. I had a stuffed giant anteater when I was a kid, but that was just because I was a kid who had like 50 stuffed animals. And like everyone knew that I liked the weird ones, so like people would get me weird stuffed animals.
Yeah. I think there's more pop culture representation of the Tamandua.
You think so?
A little bit, yeah.
Tamanduas have been having a bit of a moment, I feel like.
Especially in the, what are those movies about the blue parrot?
Rio.
Yeah, Rio.
I've not seen one of those movies.
Yeah.
Not seen any of them. But tamanduas are the one, they got a little bit of an attitude.
Yeah.
But tamanduas are much smaller and more arboreal. They spend more time in the trees. The giant anteater is almost always on the ground. They don't spend much time in trees.
It's more charismatic, I think, than the giant anteater.
You think so?
That's just a little bit.
I don't think so.
Just a little bit.
I think the giant anteater, it's the tail. The curling up under the tail, I think, is doing so much heavy lifting for me. It's so great. But so yeah, that's the giant anteater.
Well, thanks, babe.
Thank you. And thanks for hanging out with me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you for spending this time with us. If you liked what you heard, I would love if you would leave behind some nice words for us in a review on your podcast app of choice, like James XW, who wrote on Apple Podcasts. Ellen and Christian say they're not experts, but they know a lot and also do good research to present these wonderful animals every week. Definitely one of my favorite shows going right now. I learn a lot, laugh a lot, and it's absolutely charming to hear this married couple crack one another up.
Yay.
Yay. Live, laugh, learn. Live, laugh, love.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing Subnautica recently.
Yes.
I'm so late to Subnautica, but I've been playing it recently, and I was building my little basey base, as you do, as is the point of the game, and I realized you can make signs in your base. Like you can basically just slap some text onto the walls, and I made one in my undersea base that says "Live, laugh, love."
Oh, perfect.
Live, laugh, love sign of my Subnautica base.
That'll help the crushing isolation from the rest of humanity.
Yeah. Well, that's what the hang in there kitten poster is for. We'd like to thank Maximum Fun for having us on their network alongside the other amazing shows that they have on the network that you heard promos for earlier during this episode. If you want to learn more about the network and how you can be a part of supporting our show and get access to our monthly bonus episodes, head over to MaximumFun.org. And finally, we'd like to thank Louis Zong for our theme music.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for listening to our podcast, even though it came up a couple days late.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about late.
Yeah.
Thanks, all. Bye.
Bye.
Maximum Fun,
A worker-owned network.
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
Directly
by you.